This afternoon's hobby enhancement is some more of the French Earl Grey. Right, time to show some more progress on the Empire Army. Now, after the big batch of 49 infantry that I did last time, it was time for something a bit different. So what we have here is actually two batches. There's batch 1 and batch 2. I was actually on a roll, so I just kept painting and didn't get around to filming anything for a while. This is the lot that I did after the shall we say, an exercise in perseverance of smashing out 49 figures all in one go. The general idea with this batch is these knights here are from a relatively impoverished area, so there's nothing special about them. The gun carriage, I'll lift this up to show it a bit better. I've painted my gun carriages in the regional colours because I figure that when you're a squishy human, you need to do something to make yourself feel better, and painting up your guns and wearing brightly coloured clothes is a great way of feeling flash and pretending that you might actually stand up to things like demons and, oh god knows the rest of it, dragons and whatnot. So we've painted the gun carriages, and people used to do that in history. Probably a bit in a later era than this one, but you never know. So they've come along fine. For the most part with these, the problem I had with the undercoat dusting isn't too noticeable. There are a few shields, there are a few shields where it wasn't great, and you can see on the lance there that it's a bit speckled. That is really a matter of the undercoat, even after I cleaned it up. You actually see a bit on the banner. Then there are some other parts of the models where it just doesn't show at all. So this speckling issue has been a real challenge. It's not ruining the army. If you look at it from the tabletop level, like back at this sort of distance, you don't even notice. It's only when you look up close. But it will continue to be a problem on and off through the rest of this painting project. And I did an engineer with this lot as well. I figure the army needs 1 or 2 engineers. Basically necessary to make sure the guns actually do their job. I'm probably not going to tool them up with too much wacky doodah stuff themselves. You might notice from this guy, though, I'll just give you a look at the back. Keeping with the limited palette, I've actually done a lot of leather on these guys. I figure they're going to be less flouncy and more scrambling around, working with things. The crew, of course, are just as bright and shiny as... Geez, they're all at different focal lengths. The crew are just as bright and shiny as everybody else, although probably a little bit harder of healing. That brings us on to the second batch. So with the Outriders, I probably could have done 2 batches, but I didn't want to get into one big unit again so soon after the infantry. With these chaps, I did brass fixtures on the guns. I don't know why, I just like brass fixtures on things. I don't have a penchant for steampunk specifically, despite my long history of Warhammer. But I'm glad I did that because the colour tone worked out quite well. I'll just give you a look at the back of these models as well. I like the leather coat on the engineer, so I've replicated it on well, these are coats they're wearing more than capes, as it were. It's more evident on the character. I've actually done this chap as the musician, but you can see it actually is a coat with sleeves on this one, whereas the other ones it's more of just a poncho sort of arrangement. So I think that gives the Outriders that bit more of that look of people who are on the road looking after themselves a bit. They don't keep all their stuff back with a baggage train or anything like that. They're there to carry everything they need from day to day. And I went a bit to town with these guys. This chap, for example, the musician, has a spare gun. He's packing his pistol sword combo, as you do in Warhammer Land, for battle, but he's also got his repeater. With these sorts of chaps, I put all the nooks and crannies on them, like all the optional extras like bottles and bedding. They've all got saddlebags and things of that ilk. I have kept the army colour scheme, but it's mostly more subtle on these models. So you can see it in the blanket that's in the 2 parts. little bit of trousers there that you can see before it disappears into armour, and on their sleeves. So they do retain the colour scheme for that sense of consistency, but they've also got their own independent look. One thing with the Mortar, I didn't think this would be the case originally. I'm really just doing one of each type of gun, but the Mortar is actually kind of a gnarly looking piece of kit when you think about it. I've used all the extras for both the Mortar and the cannon, so you know there's the lockbox, the powder barrel, whatever that thing is supposed to do. Probably hold a telescope or something. The Mortar is a chunky little unit. It's not very realistic. It's a barrel that big. If you put powder behind it, it would probably explode, or the ball would fall out about 10 feet away. But yeah, I just like the way it looks, which I didn't really expect when I got it. So that brings us to the mage and his little friend. The mage was actually a surprisingly annoying thing to paint. It's got nooks and crannies all over the place, whereas I'm trying to go for efficiency for this army. Persevered though and had a few goes, but he took longer than some units just to do him by himself, and even then I didn't do a particularly fancy job. I'm doing the characters 90% the same way that I do the rest of the units. I'm just adding a little bit more highlight and dry brush here and there and a bit more attention to the details. You can see that in some of the dry brushing. Hopefully that's going to come up in focus around the antlers and the wood bracken, whatever he's got around his head. And I spent some time putting a few different shades on the leaves and whatnot on the back. Otherwise I was just endeavoured to be neat and did the block and slop approach, did the job. I decided to do the spear tip in the bronze colour, and yeah, I like it. Came up alright. Simple but pops. That's what I'm aiming for this army. Get it done quick, dirty if you need to, but make sure it looks good on the table and things pop out. One note, I've been using Games Workshop bronze for a long time. I use a mix of Games Workshop and Vallejo paints, and weirdly the Vallejo metallics I'm starting to like a little bit more than the Games Workshop ones, but a lot of the other colours I could really go either way. So that's the new stuff, and here is the whole army so far, sitting at about up to 1200 points depending on how you kit it out, maybe a little bit less. Cavalry wing, direct fire, some indirect fire, hiding behind some infantry, whatever wacky doodah stuff that fella's going to get up to. Big block of spear with a suitably gnarly dude in charge, and some more flanking infantry. And I'll just give you a few more shots of that for shits and giggles. We have mostly what we did before with the infantry, trying to make those detachments work. Now with some support. The first two guns, nothing rare, just special. Somebody to try and make them behave, and however we end up configuring these chaps. So that's it, 1200 points so far, and to be honest with you, I would actually be quite comfortable fielding this 1200 point game, or even a 1100 point game. I think it would work. That's the thing about the Empire Army, it tends to be a lot more functional than some of the other more interesting ones. Well, I say more interesting, but this thing's got so many nooks and crannies that it's actually much less two-dimensional or a one-trick pony than a number of the armies that I got just for style over substance. But anyway, that's enough for now. Feel free to hit like, subscribe, all that guff. Do look at another video. Apparently that's what helps the algorithm these days. They want to keep you trapped in their platform. It's all about retaining audience attention, even if it's not on the one video. Anyway, the next batch is on the table. 20 odd great swords, a character, and some other fun and games. But for now, it's time to call it a day.